All right. Greetings and welcome to Old Drunken Discography. I'm Jason. With me is Bill
Hi.
and Tim.
It's my fault.
And every week, one of us picks an artist. This week, Tim chose Tomahawk. Patton Train. Go watch the first episode to get our history with the band. Take that in account. Because we are going to talk about Anonymous. Tim, you're holding the vinyl. I think you should start us off.
Sure. Yeah. So again, as with the last two albums, my vinyl copy is from the eponymous to anonymous box set, and these have all been reissued. If you've got one of the reissues, I really want to hear how it sounds because, as we discussed previously, the box set's a little disappointing, but I do have it. It'll do. Um, And then yeah, so I do have notes for this album as well. I had to take notes for two of these just to kind of keep myself straight. So just kind of running through what I got here. I mean, obviously we're going to start with um, a little bit of the background on this album. This is the one album that I recorded as a three-piece.
Who are they
This was what?
missing?
Kevin Rutmanis was fired from the Melvins and Tomahawk about the same time here in the mid 2000s for his own extracurricular activities. That's when the Melvins picked up. That's when they got big business actually to come in, and they were the four-piece, two drummer version of the Melvins. And Tomahawk ended up recording this one as a three-piece. Dwayne and Patton, I believe, cover the bass throughout most of it between the two of them. And yeah, Kevin had his personal issues and was asked to leave the family or whatever. And and then yeah, Dwayne's really into he's really into Native American music.
You don't
And
say.
so anybody who's ever been in a band knows that you're gonna meet that guy that's like, Hendrix did it first, or Cream did it first, or The Who did it first, or whatever. And it always goes back to Muddy Waters. And then it's like, well, if you're getting into Muddy Waters, you're getting into Robert Johnson. And if you're getting into Robert Johnson, well, then you're getting into 19th century stuff, like pre musical recorded history stuff. And every musician kind of goes through that phase at one point. And so I totally get Dwayne's like checking out like Native American music. Like that's perfectly valid, right? Um so yeah, this is a themed album. These ties in with the title. Like it's called Anonymous because no one knows who wrote these songs. These are uh, these are ancient rhythms and melodies that transcend, the subconscious or whatever. But here we are, Tomahawk, a 2000s rock and roll supergroup, putting that through a filter. So it starts off with a war song, and that kind of sets the mood. Like it's got a tense quality to it, but it's really just more of an intro. And that takes us to the Mescal Right one, which I mean it's a jam. Patton sounds amazing on this track, especially the background stuff. I love all the instruments, honestly, like the way the drums and the guitar are working off each other. And then when it gets to that the middle section where it kind of feels like electronic, like electronica or like trip hoppy in a way. It's a really interesting interpretation of these original melodies and rhythms. It takes us to the ghost dance. I love the melody. The drums are super simple, but they're super effective. They're super evocative and emotive, like every E word you can think of. And then when the hand claps come in, it like creates this really great syncopation. I love the ghost dance. And that takes us to Red Fox, which is really like probably the first highlight of the album. Like this is a jam. Patton's really getting in there rhythmically, melodically. The whole Skinny Walker, You Are part is awesome. Um, and really, it's like, at this point, you kind of have an idea of the train you're on with this album. Like, okay, we're going off into the desert. We're going off into the woods. We're going off into the cosmos. And then the production kind of brings you right back to 2000. What was this, 7? Like,
2007, yeah.
yeah, it's the production is super clean and super modern on these really original ideas. I'm on board with what they're trying to do with this album. The Cradle song, this is like I don't know, I kind of make the joke in my notes here, like this is the closest we get to a traditional song, but all these are traditional songs, right? Like, so what is the difference there? Is this the closest we get to a pop song? Either way, it's prime Patton. Patton sounds amazing. Um, and then like he does that one scream, they even kind of mute it, but he's like in the background, but like he's just screaming throughout this album, and I love a Patton scream. He can hold it for at least 4 measures. He can hit like 3 different octaves within one scream. They always take you on an adventure. The Antelope Ceremony, like it's there. Like, and one thing about this album, I will say, and about this whole discography, like, especially on the phone, you can kind of program your whatever service you're using and just throw all 5 of these albums on there and be like, hit shuffle. And these tracks work really well in shuffle. And Antelope Ceremony is definitely a shuffle track. It's cool. I really like the vocal layers, but I mean, it's not like the high point or anything. But it is followed by Song of Victory, which might be a high point. I mean, like that's definitely a top song contender. And then, is it math metal? Like if you're looking at this through like a super hardcore death metal lens, they're doing some really crazy stuff. But it sounds nothing like that. It's still very much within this Native American electronica country Tomahawk lens that they're running through.
Wait, are you talking Song of Victory?
Song of Victory. That song is crazy good. It's like super punk rock. It's super technical.
I'll just say right now, my note for that one is it's a joke, right?
My notes.
Go back to that one. No, go back to that one and be like, no, what the fuck is going on in 2007 where this is acceptable?
Bill,
And you go like, okay, no, this is.
What'd you say, Dave?
At least it was short.
That song's super punk rock. Like, go back to Song of Victory.
Oh yeah, we've already divulged.
Shit, top song contender.
I mean, I guess it kind of fits that what I was doing with last week with Creed. At least it's short. I don't want to jump in. Antelope.
Yeah.
No, feel free. It's all good.
I disagree with you on Antelope Ceremony. That was one of my favorites from the record. It had really
interesting.
Fun
okay,
riffs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll get into it when I get there.
Well, and yeah, I'm kind of going track by track, but like this is one of those albums that I've been listening to now for 15 years. First day buyer. Like, Tomahawk's putting out their 3rd album. They lost a bass player. Let's see what they're doing. And they dropped this. And this is one of those albums from day one. Personally, it took me a little while to get into it.
I can see that.
But it would be one of those albums I'd play for people, and I'd see them immediately connect with it. Where this this album transcends rock music. You know, this is one of those albums you can literally play for your grandparents and be like, "Here's what music sounds like now, Grandma." And they'll be like, "Oh, this is pretty crazy, but it's good." You know, like, yeah, like all types of people, all types of musical backgrounds. They can, and you know, out here on the West Coast, I encounter a number of Native people, and I'll introduce it to them, and I'll be like, "Yeah, here's a rock album for you," and it's a popular one. Like, there's something about this album, and we'll get to it by the end of it, where like after you listen to this album, you have been changed. Like, there's a lot to really appreciate and really admire about this album. We haven't even gotten to my favorite songs on this album yet. I'll skip like the silliness because again, I like this album. Every song on here is pretty much a jam. Sundance is a top song contender. Mescal Right 2, it kind of sounds like the calm after the storm, if you know what I mean. And Patton sounds amazing on Mescal Right 2. It's almost like he's doing a rap rock thing, though. It's kind of interesting. Go back and check that one out. And then we got to talk about Totem. So we're going to get to the next album. They did not tour for this album, so I did not see a tour for this album. But they tour for the next album, and the one song that made the set list from this album was Totem. And hearing that song live kind of opened the whole album up for me. Where I went, oh, I kind of see exactly what they're going for here. Totem is great. And then Crow Dance, another banger, and Long Weary Dre. Much like War Song at the beginning, this is just like a little pretty outro. And by the end of it, this album's a journey.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend going back and visiting it a number of times because it definitely grows.
Well, Bill and I will just go back and forth on this one real quick. But I just want to say, you said as you were going through the songs, track 4 is where you figure out what they're going for. That didn't happen to me until track 5, and I was like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing here. Now, mind you,
okay.
Well, Bill and I will run through the notes first, and then I'll.
Red Fox, man, that album. I mean, you know, Red Fox.
War Song, 3 minutes 25-second instrumental for an opening. Did not work for me. Bird Song was much cooler. Mind you, I went into this album after listening to the first one first and not knowing anything about this discography, and then the second one, and then with this one without any prior knowledge of what the fuck this was going into it. So just in my mindset, I'm like, Jesus Lizard meets Patton. Let's go.
That's all you need, right? That is all you need.
For War Song, my notes, it was an instrumental. Is that what it is?
Well, I mean, Patton's on there. There are vocals. And at this point in 2007, you know that just because Patton's not saying words doesn't mean there aren't vocals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I put question marks next to it.
Sure. Yep. And that's why I'm trying to answer.
Messelwright 1. That was interesting, but not something I would want to revisit.
My note was, wait, was there a song? I missed it.
Ghost Dance, more Native American chanting. Another one I would never need to hear again. See, at this point, I'm like, well, okay, yeah.
So for Ghost Dance, said, okay, I suppose I should expect to hear a song on the album called Ghost Dance at this point. That's what I figured out when it was titled Ghost Dance.
You were track 3.
Well, so especially look at the album art, and it's like, oh shit, like I put 2 and 2 together right then.
I mean, look at the album art of the first album. We'll get to Is It Art, but this just looks like the first album continuation, but no.
No.
All right. Cradle song, super boring for the first half. Then the drums do some cool little rolls, but that was it. Patton builds and explodes, but with the music not doing anything more behind it, it never reaches a climax. Still, did I skip Red Fox? I did, didn't I?
I think you did skip Red Fox, yeah. How could you skip Red Fox? It's a top song contender.
Doing some cool Patton singing with the guitar riff trick again, which is cool.
Is this the... try to read that word. Basically, like, me looking like, oh yeah, this is a weird, different, off the beaten path album from what they usually do.
All right.
You're already on board. Like, okay, I see what's going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cradle song, what you got? Because I already read mine.
I said okay, slightly different, but not good.
All right. Antelope, so far my favorite from the album. Really fun guitar riffs. Was way too long, though, for what it offered.
I put this song just kind of happened and seemed long.
Song of Victory, at least it was short. We talked about that one.
Yes, and I said, all right, it's a joke, right?
Omaha Dance.
Go back to that one. Song of Victory. It's great. For fans of Meshuggah, the Dillinger Escape Plan.
More Native American sounding chanting.
System of a Down.
Nothing to see here.
Same shit, different song.
Sundance. Now here we go. This is the Tomahawk I like. The parts that go nuts, really go nuts. It's just a shame it's so little and not that often. New favorite song on the album.
My notes, I'd just say best song on the album.
Top song is going to get interesting. All right. Right 2, like part 1, interesting, but not something I need to hear again. I couldn't catch all the lyrics, but they sounded interesting.
Mescal Right 2, I said better than Mescal Right 1, somehow.
I think I'd probably go Mescal Right 1, but that's just personal choice, I think.
I think it's just in the context of where it was in the album, honestly.
Sure. No, and that plays a part in it, of course. Yeah.
Totem. I like Totem. It kind of reminded me of Faith No More, the way Patton just kind of like flows with the vocal melody. So yeah, I like Totem.
I put okay to good for the album. Like some of the instrumental stuff going on again.
Crow Dance, I get what they're going for on this album. It's just not for me.
On the second to last track, you get what they're going for.
That's the only notes I had for it. I already figured it out by then, but I was just like, okay, we're still going with it. Sure.
Crow Dance, it happened. I liked basically every other dance better, though.
And closing track was short and pretty. It was a good closer.
I put is a really good closer for this album.
My final notes say a lot of this album sounding like a soundtrack to Dances with Wolves. While not bad, it's not what I wanted nor expected. I get what they're going for.
I would have preferred it to the soundtrack to Dances with Wolves.
That's probably true too. It didn't work for me.
Sure. Okay.
I was not expecting it. I see the genius in it, and Tim's explanation for it. It's just not what I wanted to hear at the time.
I mean, kind of a note that so different discographies. I think this is the album because we're cramming this whole discography into 1 week.
Yeah.
Like,
this is definitely the outlier, for sure.
I mean, it's also like, all right, like we don't have as much as we have time to digest it, it's not like we have, weeks or months to, go back and listen once a week, once every other week. It's like, nope, we get, maybe three, if we're lucky, 3 times through the full album within 1 week span.
I'll throw out too on the vinyl release. I'm just now noticing that Mike Patton has the top production credit.
I mean, it sounded good. It was produced like clean and.
Oh yeah, but it was a very clean sounding record.
Yeah.
Yeah, multiple studios, multiple producers, but he gets the top credit on this one.
It's way more better produced than the first record. There's something off about the first record's production for me. But I guess I gotta guess this motherfucker. I think Tim has it number 1.
That'd be incorrect.
Tim has it number 3.
That would be correct.
Damn. Bill number 3.
Yep.
Okay. Fuck. The way Tim talked about it, I was like, he's gonna go. He's always talking about going with that black sheet. I thought he was just.
I mean, the color code will tell all. I still think it's a great album. But it is, it's definitely an outlier. It's definitely not what we were wanting or expecting in 2007. But over the 15 years or whatever it's been out, I have grown to appreciate it.
All right, we are still lined up. This is
weird.
If we go one more, I think it'll be a record. I think we've been 3 before, but never 4.
Do we go all 5?
I don't. Oh.
Well, stick around for that. As you can see, we are unscripted. We don't know what. We don't know.
We don't know what's going on.
So, as always, be safe and what, Tim?
Listen to good music. Make good decisions. Tell your grandma you love her. And don't be afraid to let people know how you feel.
That's some deep shit, man.
Yeah.
I need another drink. And then you go a little woo, and then a little whoop, 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 and then it's all, and then you're ready to go again.